Hello everybody, so today we're going to be creating an Active Directory home lab, and this is mainly for your common tier 1, I guess you'd say. I'm not a big fan of tiers because it really doesn't make much sense to me, but this is your common help desk Active Directory task that we're going to be covering in this video. And what we're going to do in this video is we're going to be creating a 2019 Windows server, which is what we're going to install the Active Directory domain services on. And then and this will be our domain controller too. And then we're going to be joining a Windows 10 machine to the domain, which is what hosts the Active Directory. And then on that domain controller, we're going to go over the Active Directory basics while using that Windows 10 machine to show you how Active Directory kind of works. So when we create a new user in Active Directory, we're going to use a Windows 10 machine to log on as that new user that we created in Active Directory. If this does not make any sense to you right now, it's definitely going to make sense after this video for sure. It's not going to be the full-blown course of Active Directory. This is not Active Directory. This is kind of like Active Directory 101 almost. It's your basic level stuff. This is not the full playbook of Active Directory because we could spend days on that. This is going to be your common level 1 task as a help desk, because Active Directory is used in this IT world. Even if you're a cybersecurity analyst, you're still probably going to be faced with Active Directory some way or another. There's Active Directory attacks. So if you just know a little bit about Active Directory, how it works and stuff, it's going to definitely help you out some way or another than not knowing anything at all. So whether you're getting into cybersecurity, whether you're getting into network engineering, anything like that, it's definitely good to know about Active Directory, because no matter what role you're in, you always go back to the basics. Like people pen test on Active Directory. There's just so many different things. So after this video, Active Directory will make way more sense. But other than that, let's just go ahead and jumped right into the lab. So the first step to setting up an on-premise Active Directory environment is we're going to need a Windows 2019 server, which is right here. This is brand new. The only thing that I did not do, but I will show you all now. Well, actually, the only thing that I did do that I did not show you all, but I will show now, is I went here, open Internet and Settings, and Network and Sharing Center, Ethernet 0, Properties, the IPv4, and I just set a default IP address with my subnet mask and my default gateway. And then I just set the preferred DNS server to the IP address of the domain controller, and then the DNS server, the alternate would be Google's alternate DNS. So that was one of the things I did. The only other thing that I did, so I would have the ability to RDP instead of using like VMware tools or anything like that. I went to File Explorer, right-click this PC, Properties, Remote Settings, and then I allowed remote connections to this computer. I didn't do anything with select users or anything like that. I'm just logged in as a local administrator right now. And I think for this lab, we're not even going to have to change the computer name or anything like that. But what we now need to do is, once you have a server 2016 or 2019 Windows built, you can change the IP if you want to, and then set the DNS server correctly, and then RDP in. And the DNS server is going to come later when we try to join our Windows 10 machine to the environment, so we can practice Active Directory on. But the first thing you would have to do is you would have to basically click the Start menu, go to the Server Manager, and we're doing this the GUI way, not through PowerShell or anything like that. And when we go to Manage, Add Roles and Features, and it's not going to do it yet because this is still loading up here. Everything's still coming up. Should be good now. Yep. So in here, I skipped this page by default because you really don't need to see it. We're doing a role-based. In my previous videos I did a remote desktop service installation, which is a whole another subject, but for now we're doing role-based. We keep all this default. And then we're going to need the Active Directory domain services. Which, as you can see, here's the Active Directory module for Windows PowerShell. You have your Active Directory Admin Center, your ADDS Snap-in, and things like that. So we add the features for that. And then we're also going to add a DNS server. We're going to add features for that. And that should be it for the Active Directory users and computers part of this lab environment. That should be all you need for this. The main reason we're doing the DNS server is when we connect our Windows 10 machine to the domain. So we'll click next on that. All this you can keep as default. We don't need to check anything in here. This is your just kind of like your Azure part, which is right here. And then you have things to note, which you can read. Doesn't really apply though. Next. Next. And then we can restart if the server is automatically required. We'll click next. And then we will install. So I'm going to let this install and then I will be back. Alright, so the installation is done now. We can close this out. And then as you see, we have a couple more roles here in the server groups. Server groups is only one, but we have a couple more roles here. Like we didn't have ADDS before DNS. So now if we go here and we click up here, we need to promote this server to a domain controller, which is what the Active Directory is going to be basically living on. We're going to add a new forest because we're not attaching this to another AD domain controller or existing forest or anything like that. The root domain name, I guess, can be brad.tech. We'll click next. And then the password, this is for your directory services restore mode, so make sure you remember this in case you do ever have to restore something. And you can also read more on this, but this is way out of this subject of this lab video. DNS delegation we don't have to worry about. And the net BIOS name is kind of like when you log into a computer. So like when you log into a new Windows 10 machine, you have to do like /administrator if you want to see like the host name. So like if you try to basically map just say if we try to map a drive here, we can connect using different credentials. I don't think I have anything on here right now, but when you click finish, you would basically have a Windows security box that comes up with credentials and your net BIOS name. If you want to say, hey, talk to this domain controller, if it's not already, you can do brad / and then the username on that domain. So we'll click next on this. This could all be left as default. We'll click next. It's going to run through. There should be you will have some I guess like warning messages, you could say, that will come up here, but everything you should be able to pass just fine. So once this is, so you can see you have a couple warning messages. You don't have to worry about these. All the prerequisites did pass. We're going to go ahead and click install. And then once this installs, I will be back. Alright guys, everything has installed on the domain controller. As you can see here, we have the Active Directory users and computers, which is what this lab is mainly about. Then we also have the DNS server, which is not really going to be touched in this situation except for when we add the Windows 10 machine to the domain. So now if we open up this my ESXi host dashboard in the background here, and this is my brand new Windows 10 VM. I don't even think, the only thing I did was install it actually. So we're going to join this to our domain so I can show you all some, and we're going to practice Active Directory on here a little bit. So if we go to Network and Sharing Center, There's a few different ways you can change the IP and stuff. Go to properties. Actually, I did change it. Okay. Yeah, so the only other thing I would have touched on this one is the IP configuration and the DNS. So this DNS server is pointing to our domain controller IP address, and our IP address is just one number higher than the actual IP address on the domain controller. And then this is our default gateway, which is set on my home network. So we're going to click OK on that, close. And if you all remember, our domain name was brad.tech, I believe. And we can ping the brad.tech. So that's done. So what we can do is, and you can do this through PowerShell too, but I'm just showing you the GUI way of doing it. Properties. We're joining the PC to the domain right now, actually. Advanced System Settings. Go to change domain, brad.tech. As you can see, we're getting this prompt because it's able to reach a domain. It's going to be able to join as long as we provide the correct credentials. I'm just typing in the admin password of my domain controller. And this is just for labbing purposes only. I would not recommend this in an environment. So now we're on the domain. It's going to have to restart. So close, restart now. And this is just going to go ahead and restart for us. Once this, actually while it's restarting, we can go back to here, Tools, Active Directory Users and Computers. I'm going to expand this out. So up here, these are like a default containers. This is the domain controller OU. Then we have users in here. I have not touched anything in here yet. I have not touched any of this yet. So we refresh this. So already here, this is our desktop that we just joined to the domain. And just to prove you all that that is a desktop we joined to the domain, command prompt. This has a completely different host name, and remember the JR2V. So this is booting back up for us, that's fine. So now we can actually just start getting to our Active Directory part of the video now. One of the main things is if you're in an environment that has multiple domain controllers against multiple regions, you want to make sure that you're changing the info on like the correct domain controller for replication reasons. So if you right click the brad.tech and you do change domain controller, it's going to have all your domain controllers in here, so you want to change it to the one that's closest to the user itself if you have multiple domain controllers across multiple regions, and that's mainly for replication reasons. And I did see something new in my where if you start making changes on multiple domain, start making the same changes on multiple domain controllers at a time, it actually creates a duplicate copy of whatever you're doing. So like if you're creating a distribution group on one domain controller, and you do that same thing on another domain controller, it creates like a copy of it, and it's not a SID, it's something else. I forget what it's called. But that's one of the things. So when you make a change, make sure you only do it one time and you're not just trying to do it on multiple domain controllers if you have multiple, just to try and get the process done faster. Just take a few minutes, do it right the first time, and then you won't have to go back to it again. So that's one thing. That's with Active Directory. So next we can talk about how to create a user. Is this back up yet? Yes, it is. Cool. Now you can see on this Windows 10 machine we have other user because it's joined to the domain now, and it says sign into Brad, which was the NetBIOS name that it came from. So I'm gonna, I will be right back, and then we will go ahead and get into the AD lab. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a user, and we're just going to do test. Last name will be test123, username test. And the user logon name is what they're going to be logging into the computer with. Next, password. And then this is, they must change the password next logon. This is only going to work if they're already connected to our network. User cannot change password, pretty self-explanatory. Password never expires, pretty self-explanatory, and same thing with account is disabled. If the account is disabled, I'll show you all what that means in a second. So this is full name, finish. Now if we go back to here, this is our Windows 10 machine. Brad was a local account that I created when setting up the Windows 10 machine. We're signing into Brad, which was a NetBIOS name from brad.tech. We're going to do test, password. The user's password must be changed before signing in. Click OK. New password. Sign in. And the password has been changed. So now you see test, and then the first name, last name, test123. So once we get signed in here, I'll show you all about the disabling the account part. Come on, computer. Alright, so what we're going to do now is to disable the account. So we have our test user here, which is under the default users container. You can, there's probably in a company environment, there's probably multiple OUs upon multiple OUs that you would put standard users in. So if we right click this, we can basically disable the account. And this is for if a person's going on, maybe going off the job for a little bit because of sickness or something, or anything that your company would do to disable the account. You would right click, disable the account. Object test123 has been disabled. Now you see we have a little down arrow here, little black down arrow. So now we're signed in, but now what we're going to do is we're going to sign out. So now when we sign back in, it should say the account is disabled where we cannot sign in. And we might even have to restart the computer, and might be a replication time issue too. Yep, so we're going to have to, I'll just restart it. There might be a replication time issue too. So we'll once this restarts, we'll get back to that part. Another common thing is creating security and distribution groups for an Active Directory. If you right click users, you can do new, and the most common thing is group. So before we did user, which is create right up here too, but you can also do create a new group from here too. So our group name, we'll just do email group. And then the group scope, I always choose universal. And then group type, so security group type is a security group. So just say you want to lock down a particular folder, or you want to create a security group for someone getting access to a specific mailbox from the Exchange Admin Center. It can be a couple of different things, but usually the security is for access wise. And then distribution is your email. So if you want to create a distribution group such as, I don't know, help desk at whatever your company name is .com. So you can do distribution group for help desk, and then what that would do is whenever they send an email to that help desk group, distribution group, whoever is inside of that distribution group will get that email. So it's basically almost like, it's not like a shared mailbox or anything, it's a distribution group only. So if we click OK on that, there's our distribution group. And you can see here it is distribution. You can even put a description or like an email address for the distribution group so people know what the group's about. I always like to put as much detail as possible in these so people know what it is. Because if you don't have access to everything to try and research more, it can be hard sometimes to find out info. So if we go to members, we can just say add, we can add the test user. And when you do check names, it should go through Active Directory and look for anything with test in it. Click OK, and boom. Member of, we can just say do domain users. Domain. Actually, you know what? I don't think you cannot add domain users inside of an email inside of this. So we would have to do just say administrators. There we go. So this is looking for groups or built-in security permissibles. If we change this, yep. So administrators, you can do that. Apply, and then if you go back to administrator, admin, and then this is where you search for stuff right here. And you can actually find computers, printers, shared folders, OUs, mainly for group policy related stuff or OUs. You can do a custom search or common queries. So if we just do users, if we do admin, we're going to search the entire directory. So there you go, administrators. Go here, you have email group. So whoever's in administrators will be a part of the email group. So the email group is part of the administrator group. So basically what happens is if you add the email group into administrators, just say if someone emails the email group, the administrators will get it. So that's that. And this is just a built-in admin account. Okay, the next thing is we go here. Let's see if the user is disabled now. And we're just going to do other user just to make sure. Yep, so your account has been disabled. Please see your system administrator. That just means because we disable the account, the user is not going to be able to log in again. So back in Active Directory, we're going to click on this. We're going to enable the account. Okay. Double click on this. So in here you have a bunch of different things. All pretty self-explanatory, nothing out of the ordinary. Web page can be used for many different reasons. Telephone number, obviously self-explanatory, same thing with email. Address, pretty self-explanatory, some companies might use this, I'm not too sure how many actually do though. The account, so we have the user logon name at brad.tech. From here you can also do logon hours. So you can change, so if you have like a new user onboarding and you're not too sure about them just yet, you can and just say you give them access to very sensitive stuff or stuff that can do a lot of power. You can actually change your logon hours so they can only log on during working day hours, and then once just say it hits 8 p.m. they're not going to be able to log back on the account and do damage if they wanted to. And then you can do this user can log on too, so if you only want to limit computers. I personally have never used this before. This is actually my first time seeing it in this video I'm making. But yeah, you can basically say, hey, only they're able to log into this computer only. But we want to change it to all computers because if the user goes to a different site or something, they want to be able to log on to any computer. This is from when we created the account basically, but it's just here in case you ever want to change it again. So there's that. Like smart card, kind of sensitive, cannot be delegated. And this is all stuff you can research. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in Active Directory, but for this video, this is mainly for help desk purposes. Profile is a cool one. User profile path or logon script. And then the home folder is what I like. Just say we want to do E. And we want to do it to, let's see here. So just say we want to do sysvol rad.tech. We put in here. Actually, no, we don't. We'll delete this. So we just, I don't know if this is going to work on the sysvol folder, but usually what happens is if you do that and you do backslash percentage sign username, it should go ahead and automatically create the folder inside of whatever path you're putting it to. Apply, OK, refresh. So now we have the test, which is a username. We go to properties, security. It's just permissions on the folder. So it gives you full control, and then it basically inherits everything else. Cancel out of that, which is pretty cool. Then you can create a group policy to whenever they log into a computer, you can have them map their personal drive for them, which is pretty cool stuff if you ask me. Very convenient for the user itself. So back to the telephones, pretty self-explanatory here. Organization, job title, all this stuff is pretty self-explanatory. There's nothing out of the ordinary. Well, whoa, what does this mean? It's all basic keywords. Remote control, this allows to remotely control user session. Remote desktop services profile. I've personally never used this before. Couldn't tell you exactly what it does. I'm not sure how many companies actually use it. Com Plus, I don't know what this is for either. Dial-in, I think this is pretty old. Not a lot of people use it, I don't think. Environment, use tab to configure remote desktop services startup environment. The settings override client specified settings. So you can start a filing program at logon, things like that. Not too sure how this is used. Not too sure if it's even used a lot or not. Member of, which is what the user was in. So if if a user sends it to just say this email group is assigned an email address, just say if someone sends it to the email address, this user will get it because they are part of that group. So if we cancel out of that, that is kind of like the user side of stuff. If you right click the user, you have many different options here. All tasks, disable. This is basically what you see right here. Send mail, open, I don't even know, yeah. So home page, none set. You can do reset password again. So if you want to reset their password, for the user must change password next login. Make sure they already have connectivity to the network. So just say if the user is at home, they can't connect to the VPN and their password's not working and you have to change it. Make sure you uncheck this box, because if not, they're definitely not going to be able to connect to the VPN. And with VPN users, there's a certain process you have to go through. Companies might be set up differently. So just make sure you get the exact workflow you need when you have to change the password for an at-home user, because you can screw up a lot of things if you don't do it correctly. There's an unlock a user account. So if we go to properties, we go to account, I'm going to show you all what will happen. Oh yeah, account expires. If you want it to expire at a certain time, users offboarding, just say in 10 days, you want to set it here instead of setting a reminder to do it in 10 days to disable it. So if we go back to here and we did enable the account, but we want to lock the account out. Password's incorrect. I believe it's 304 default. We want to lock the account out. How many times is this going to take? Usually after you enter a bad password so many times, it takes a while to log in. So we're going to refresh this container, properties. Come on account lockout for me, please. Actually, what we can do is we can Going a little bit off topic here, but let's go to group policy management. Default domain policy. You can do it through command line to see password and how many times and stuff like that, but I'm going to show you all the group policy way to do it. Show all. Okay, so where's this at? So account lockout threshold 0 invalid login attempts. So what we need to do is, that's why the account was not locking out. So what we need to do is we need to, and this is, group policy is a whole nother subject. Group policy can honestly be a job within itself. We're going to edit this. Policies, Windows settings. I think it's under security settings. Account policies, password, account lockout policy, account lockout threshold. So account will lock out 0 invalid login attempts. So we're going to change that to 3. And then you can just explains it to everything. Apply. Yep, so account lockout duration 30 minutes, reset account lockout counter after 30 minutes. So just say you entered a bad password 2 times, and then after 30 minutes you have not tried again, that lockout counter will reset. So you have, if you do it 3 times within 30 minutes and the password's wrong, then it will lock out. Click OK on that. OK. So now this PC is going to have to be restarted because we got to get that new group policy to take effect. So we're restarting that now. What else can we show in AD? There's just so many things in AD that you can do. Covered all that, I think. Users. Oh yeah, we can do a new OU. So we can create a new group. That's the security and user group. Security and distribution group, I'm sorry. We can create a new computer. So in job environments, if you're putting computers in a certain OU, so if we right-click brad.tech, we do new, and we do new organizational unit, and we just do computers 23. This is protect the container from accidental deletion, so if you click OK on that, come over here, right-click, delete. Are you sure? Yes. You do not have permissions, because the object is protected from the accidental deletion. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this computers and we're going to move it to this computers 23 OU. Yes. And then basically what happens is when you add this is a new computer, this is a new OU. What you can do is if your company has like a standard process to automatically put computers in a certain OU based on region or whatever it may be, you can actually come to the OU in Active Directory, right click, new computer, group, computer, new computer, and then we can just do testing for lab. So what that does is click OK on that. So now what happens is if we go ahead and we go to a computer, just say it's this computer right here, and just say this is a brand new one, not joined to the domain yet or anything. We rename it to testing for lab. We join it to the domain. It's not going to add another computer to the computers OU. It's going to basically come right to the computers 23 OU, see it's in here, and then what will happen is this DNS name will change. So it would be, and I'm just going to type it out because we haven't actually joined the testing for lab to the domain yet. This would be, and actually I don't even think we can type in here. No, we can't. So basically what would happen is it would be testing for lab, the computer name, and then .brad.tech, which is the domain name. So that's what that does for the DNS name, automatically inputs it. It will automatically grab the operating system, and then you can do as a member of whatever your company has it set for. delegation, things like that, location, things like that. So as you can see here how we have the computer name, .brad.tech, because this is the domain name. It sees a DC type, workstation or server, operating system, Windows 10, so grabs all that, and it inputs it for you basically. So now if we come back here, and then this account should be locking out after 3 attempts unless it did not get the policy update yet. Don't think it did. No. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually log in. We're going to do a GP update / force. Come on, computer. But more in the Active Directory side, this is your domain controllers. We come up here, DNS name, same thing, DC type, global catalog, operating system, grabs the 2019 standard evaluation, member of domain controllers, that's what OU it's in. Domain controllers, this is your group right here. As you can see, we have our domain controller in here. Domain computers, which is our testing for lab that we manually created, and then the desktop, which is what we joined to the domain. A lot of different stuff in here. This is the distribution group that we created. What else is there? You can change the domain, so if you have like multiple actual domains in your environment, you can change the domain from here. Yeah, these two you will not be touching at a help desk level. You can refresh up here, so if you click on here, refresh. You can also do create a new organizational unit in the current container. So if we just do test, so that's just like a sub OU basically. We should not be able to delete it. Nope. Cool. What else is there? Let's see. Okay, so CMD. I mean, yeah, that's really about it with Active Directory at a help desk level. Once you start doing things in here a couple times, it gets very easy to use, I think, in my opinion. But like member of and stuff, you have to be don't start adding people to groups if you're not 100% positive that they should be in there. Make sure you follow the company guidelines with this stuff. You could add, just say, domain admins in to a user that has nothing to do with IT, and then all of a sudden that account gets compromised and you could be in a lot of trouble. So make sure you definitely follow company guidelines. Cancel out of that. So yeah, I mean, that's really about it from a help desk level. We did like the reset password and stuff you can add to a group. There's a lot of different ways to do one thing in here. Properties, this is the same thing, account. I want to lock the account so I can show you what it shows here. Okay, so we will sign out of here. The only problem with group policy, when you make group policy changes, sometimes it does take replication time and things like that. Okay, so that's 1 try, 2 tries, 3 tries. Nope, still is not taken into effect. Let's see if we I don't think it's going to work. Might have to do another restart. I don't want to keep holding this video because of replication time either. This will be my second try. Yeah, so let's just go ahead and restart this one more time. If it still doesn't work, then we're facing replication issues at that point from group policy. Because if we refresh the group policy, show all, where is that at again? Actually, it still says 0 invalid logon attempts. That is weird. Didn't we change that, guys? I could have sworn we changed that. That is really weird. Now it says 3 invalid login attempts. I don't think it's going to pick it up now. Because it has not picked up the group policy, even though it's literally on my home network. Yep. So basically what would happen is we go to the test user account and go to account. It would say this account is currently locked out. So you would just click unlock account and then hit apply. And then that should unlock the user's account. But you got to remember, if there's multiple domain controllers for multiple regions, because of the way the company is set up or anything, make sure you do it on the correct domain controller closest to the user to hopefully not fight replication issues. And then even at that point, and sometimes there might even be a script that goes and unlocks accounts for you that you can use at your company. There's probably many different ways your company has it set up. But this is just from the Active Directory side of things. So yeah, that's it with Active Directory. I hope you all enjoyed. If there's any questions or concerns or issues with the lab environment setting it up, please let me know. And make sure you comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next video.